Oracle of Luna is a podcast with me, Bridget Engels, as your host. Here we have conversations with real live, present-day goddesses who are actively and courageously doing their magical work in the world. Each episode is a bewitching journey with relevant discussions on topics such as Wiccan pagan spirituality, writing, culture, magical practices, art, ritual, and the craft in its many forms.
Merry meet! Welcome to another episode of the Oracle of Luna podcast. I'm Bridget Engels, your host, and today I am thrilled to chat with the marvelous Cawnawyn Moore. Cawnawyn is a singer-songwriter, astrologer, and eclectic witch whose music is based on ritual, paganism, fantasy, and folklore. She is a high priestess of the divine warrior witches and lives in the Pacific Northwest. Cawnawyn will sing a very special Litha blessing at the end, so stay tuned. Welcome, Cawnawyn.
Hi, Bridget. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm excited to chat with you. How's it going there today?
It's been great. I want to wish you a congratulations, by the way. I saw that you just had your 50th episode, so bravo. And
Yeah.
things have been great around here, enjoying the summer solstice up in the Pacific Northwest, although I'm getting rather tired of January up here. I'd love to have more of the sun part of the solstice. But otherwise, no complaints. Things are good and lots of fun projects for the summer.
Awesome. All right. Well, we have a lot to unpack here. I have a lot of questions for you, so let's get rolling.
Yes, let's dive in. Can't wait.
All right. So I always ask my guests, how did your spiritual journey as a witch begin? Do you want to tell us a little bit how you started to become a magical person?
Absolutely. I think like many witches, actually, like we can kind of trace some of these hints back to childhood when we
Yeah.
weren't raised in that kind of environment, right? So there are definitely many hints along my young journey of, yes, she probably was going to grow into a witch of some flavor and have a more eclectic spirituality. But honestly, for me, the real like definitive starting point of my practice was after I committed wholeheartedly to learning astrology. And that was with my mentor, who's Meredith Fromke from Soul Navigation Astrology. And this was just in 2019. So, as I was learning about the different energies and archetypes of the planets and how to intuitively read the natal chart, I naturally became really curious about manifestation practices and creating energetic boundaries, protecting myself, and other forms of spellcraft that eventually led me to start exploring all my local metaphysical shops, which I'm very blessed. There are very many up here in the Pacific Northwest. And from
Sure.
there, yeah, I met more of my mentors and got involved in the community, and I've been calling myself a witch ever since. So,
Yeah. So, as a child, did you grow up in the Pacific Northwest and were you involved in witchcraft as a child, or did you have inklings of fairies or nature,
I
nature
know, like how
spirits?
you find out. Yeah. I would say, so we moved from Southern California up to the Pacific Northwest when I was 7. So most of my childhood I remember is up here. And I honestly, my form of spirituality came mostly from, I distinctly remember having conversations with people who had passed on in my family that,
Oh,
is kind of unexplained at this point. I know it happened because I remember them. And just a lot of my childhood was infused with music and just over an overall sense of a connectedness, a oneness with the universe. And so naturally, I think my interest led me in the direction of, pursuing astrology and pursuing art through like fantasy, right? And I think that those little hints along the way, it's like, of course, this would be where I would kind of end up as an adult because I was always interested in those kinds of things. And I felt this deeper connection to the other side and to other beings. So here I
mm,
am.
yeah. So, what made you decide to start doing astrology and tarot card reading? Was it your friend Meredith, or just kind of on your own a little bit, or?
Meredith was definitely a huge turning point for me, but she honestly was much later in my astrology journey. My mom, I did grow up, I think you mentioned earlier, asked me about religion, and I was not raised in any kind of a witchcraft household. In fact, we were Methodist. But my mom always loved that she was a Leo, and she loved that I was a Leo. And so from the very
Oh,
beginning of my life, I knew, like a good Leo, that we were a little bit obsessed with our special sun sign, right? And so I was
yeah.
very proud of that. And then as a teenager, I started getting more interested in more of astrology, like learning about my rising sign, my moon sign. But I had pretty much a surface level interaction with astrology. Meanwhile, like I was learning about tarot in the girls' locker room for gym class, and my friend's mom was giving me tarot readings at the time, which was like really helpful for like a budding young teenager who needed confidence, right? And
Yeah.
then I started diving into astrology mostly as a hobby. But actually, what's funny is for a short time between like 2017 to 2019, before I met my mentor, I developed this character called the Sassy Astrologist. And I was making these YouTube videos, and it was basically entertainment astrology where I was giving these like roasts to all 12 sun signs and then like giving these forecasts. And
That's
I ended
cool.
up, yeah, so it's kind of a weird like backstory where I came from it from like a comedic standpoint. And then after a mental breakdown, actually, I met Meredith, and she and I came up with a deal. I said, "Hey, I'll edit your videos. Can you teach me actual astrology?" And I got so into it that I was like, "I'm done with this character. I'm going to treat this more seriously." And now it's like my job, which is super cool.
Yeah. So you do astrology reports and readings online or in person?
Yeah, I actually got started doing forecasts over at Bonfire Babel podcast. They invited me on to do like every sun season, right? Every time the sun
Uh-huh.
ingressed, I would give the forecast and still do to this day. It's a really fun collaboration we have every month. And so people started hearing my forecasts and liking them. And I had no plans of actually giving readings, but people wanted it. So I decided to open up my practice when I could manage it with my family life, just because I am mother to two very young kids. And so we've been making that work. And yeah, I'm so blessed that like people want to come and learn
Hmm.
astrology with me. And then I started giving classes locally just because I love teaching it and getting really into the weeds. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's just become way bigger than I ever could have imagined. And it's exciting.
Yeah, that is cool. So switching gears a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about how you became a singer-songwriter and a bit about your musical journey?
Of course, yeah. So music for me has always been a part of my entire life. I was playing piano at age 3 and I could read music before I could read English. So music has always just been an integral part of my life, but I really didn't start composing and songwriting until I was in my teens,
Yeah.
which was kind of another turning point for me because I was struggling with a lot of like isolation and depression in high school, and finally music became the outlet, right, to express myself. So I got really into film soundtracks.
For you that you found that outlet, that creative outlet.
Thank you. Yeah, it honestly, I think it truly saved me. Music has saved me in more ways than I can count. And so many teens struggle throughout those years. So I feel very lucky that I found that and was able to just dive fully right into it.
Yeah, that's great. So you began writing songs, or did you have a guitar, or did you just, how did that kind of start?
Yeah, I because I was a pianist, I was playing
Okay.
piano, and then I kind of learned I taught myself to like sing and play piano, and then I learned violin growing up. So and I actually really wanted to be a film composer for a long time. So I ended up going to like conservatory and College of the Arts in Seattle at Cornish,
Yeah.
and started composing later in my 20s for a lot of like theater productions and student films. And that turned out to be a really fantastic way of learning how to write music for live rituals because it's the same kind of
Yeah.
vibe, right? And so
Right.
it lent itself really beautifully to that. And now that's kind of where most of my live music is performed. And a lot of the songwriting I've done, I've kind of kept to myself, but recently I've started to release more of it with my other label, which is called Smashing Ivories. So yeah, I have, and for a while I was doing YouTube, so I was doing a lot of covers and film soundtrack, like mashups and things with pop songs. So it's been very much like a creative house over here all the time with all
Yeah,
the
no,
music.
that's wonderful. You play so many instruments, and you're very creative in your formats,
Thank you.
video and the fantasy and the weaving spirituality into your music. Um, so how do you think you weave your Wiccan or pagan spirituality into your music? Is it more because of how the platform, how you're performing in a ritual, or is it just coming from your soul?
Definitely coming from my soul. And it's funny because I think that I was a little bit resistant to call myself a witch at first, but I decided to make my practice truly my own. I would base it in music because that was the thing that was the most like powerful to me and closest to
Yeah.
me. So one of the first things I ended up doing was actually a personal project in 2020. And I just decided I'm going to write a song for every Sabbath as a way of celebrating the Sabbath, just to see if I could do it. And I wanted it to be something that like a crowd could get and like pick up very easily if you were untrained. Like I mean, similar to the hymns that I used to like play in church, right? I wanted
Yeah.
something that was communal and
Sure.
celebratory. And of course, like Buckland includes this in his book of witchcraft, which was really inspirational to me at the time because I was just learning everything.
Mhm.
And this ended up becoming really helpful to the coven I was in 2020 because we started using my music for our virtual rituals we were doing because of COVID. And so we had music to share. And so to date, I have songs for all 8 of the Sabbats. And then also with that coven, we started doing rituals that I would score, and some of that has actually become the music I've released to the public. So Ushabti, which is my album based on Egyptian ritual, was inspired to be the underscore of this like action of the psychodrama we performed for the public, which was an Egyptian ritual. So a lot of it has kind of been in service to these greater rituals.
Yeah.
And now I'm really experimenting with writing much more complicated forms of music, just kind of for the challenge, the sake of doing it, and working with channeling with my personal deity to write that music and see if, I can deepen that relationship in that way.
Do you give live concerts, or is it mostly online or
I
both?
would say most of my stuff is online at this
Okay.
point. However, I'm doing a lot of music live with the Divine Warrior Witches project I have, which is where we do the rituals locally for the public. And there are
Okay.
definitely much more plans to be premiering stuff live, which is exciting with local orchestras.
Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, because of COVID, and then also because I had 2 kids, it's been a slow
Sure.
sort of creep up start, but a lot of it is available online to listen to for free.
Yeah. That leads me to my next question. Who are the divine warrior witches? And what do they
Yeah.
do?
Who are they? What do you do? So we are a project that myself and my fellow coven sister actually created. This was in 2021. Our coven had disbanded, and we really wanted to fill the hole that was left at our local metaphysical store because
Uh-huh.
we were celebrating all the Sabbats through the year. COVID hit, the coven disbanded, and so we decided first, let's just start making like fun TikTok videos.
Yeah.
And we ended up making them more into like feature film productions because they were super elaborate. And then I got pregnant and we pulled back, but we decided on like, let's just focus on hosting rituals for the public at this store. And the store is Crescent Moon Gifts in Tacoma.
Yeah,
And
I've led
so, yeah.
classes and events there, by the way.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Oh my
Back
gosh,
in
that's great.
way back in 2018.
Yeah. Oh, so were they still at the smaller, like,
Yeah,
because they
they had
moved into the big bank?
yeah, I led the events at the smaller, older location,
Amazing.
and then also at the new location. But
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
yeah, I liked the store. I liked working with, I think her name is Angela. It was
Yeah.
always fun holding events there. But yeah, cool. And that's
Yeah,
in
so we've become
Tacoma.
their kind of resident Sabbath ritual
Yeah.
people, and we do their year event. So, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
yeah, and it's been kind of funny. The very first ritual we did officially under Divine Warriors was Mabon, and we had one participant because it was still like kind of in the middle of COVID years, and we ended up talking with her for like an hour afterward, and now she's one of our high priestesses. So the 3 of us have created like this dream team, and we host 7 rituals a year because we combine Beltane and Litha. Just because the season's crazy, we have a lot of life going on, but we do 7 Sabbath rituals a year at that store. So yeah, and we have a blast. It's so fun.
Oh, that's cool. And now that COVID's over, people can come out and they can
Yeah,
participate.
we typically sell out, which has been really exciting.
That is very exciting. So, what inspires you to sing about paganism and fantasy and folk tales? Like, you talked a little bit about your influences and with astrology and becoming witch, but what about the fantasy and the folklore aspect?
I feel like everybody could probably agree. What is there not to be inspired by, right? With fantasy and folklore, there's so much material. But for me personally, right, I think the history and the rich tapestry of cultures that make up our human history is really inspiring for me. Because paganism itself is rooted in deep ancestral practice, and fantasy and folk tales are derived from our histories and stories of heroic figures and finding the light in dark times. And it's just like tapping into this diverse, beautiful, like tapestry again, of culture, of civilizations is so inspiring for me for my music. So telling those stories, trying to paint the feeling and the vibe of the fantasy, right? And then really also paying homage to that history and all of the material that is there that we're lucky enough to be able to just immerse ourselves with.
Yeah.
So I try to do that with my music by immersing us into like the sound world, creating enough inspiration that like brings you right into that place in history and in connection with deity and the gods and goddesses. Right. I'm primarily concerned with writing and performing music that has really deep intention in all the aspects. So whether that be the instrumentation or a respect of the ancient texts and languages, the rhythmic patterns, the format of the music, like all this is what's taken into consideration when I'm writing my music, especially when it's rooted in paganism. So it almost becomes like a ritual in and of itself when I'm
Right.
composing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had Wendy Rule on my show.
Oh, I love her. Oh my gosh, she's so great. Yes.
And it was kind of similar in that she wrote music for ritual, or ritual really influenced how she wrote her music and sang, and mythology, and yeah, it's all woven in there. But
Totally.
yeah, so cool. So what are some of your upcoming plans for the future? Do you have any live concerts, events, workshops, astrology classes? I know you're a busy lady, so
Indeed, it's a good problem, and I wouldn't even call it a problem at this point. It's a blessing. But
yeah.
yeah, currently I'm in the breadth of like writing a bunch of material, which is great. So we are going to have a Divine Warriors Lunasa ritual, which I will hopefully be premiering some new music at, and we have a couple other rituals this year, like Samhain in particular, that I will also be hopefully releasing some more music around. But actually, my big project that I'm currently engrossed in is my I'm calling it my great work, but basically it's a three movement work for mezzo soprano and orchestra, and I am working channeling with my chosen deity, which is the Morrigan, and you can actually follow my progress on this and sort of see some sneak peeks over on my Instagram. I'm also doing plenty of astrology, so giving readings, of course, and I have a couple classes that I have lined up for the rest of the year. So that'll be cool, looking at things like Venus and let's see, different asteroids that are related to the goddesses, another moon class. Like everyone loves the moon. We can just dive so far into the
Yes,
moon.
I'm a
And
lunar
then
priestess, so
of
I
course, yes, even right here. Yes, absolutely. And I do a lot of like videos that I send out every month for the full moon. I do like a forecast. We do messages for the Sabbats based on the astrology, and those you can actually find. I email out a free newsletter and just send out all the astrology every time I post something. So, and then yeah, I'm hoping that my collaboration with some of the local orchestras will result in some more premieres. I will have a premiere next year, actually, of a piece I wrote for Bridget for a female
oh
ensemble, which is
yay.
really cool. Yeah. I just found out about that and they asked me to perform in it. So I'm really excited. And that'll be up in Bremerton, Washington with the symphony there. So
Oh, that
really,
sounds
really stoked.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, and then the last thing I should mention is, as I've said, I'm a parent and I have a pagan parenting podcast in collaboration with Witch Space Presents. They're over in New York and they have their like sub channel. And we just launched our first episode in April, but we're doing episodes on pagan parenting, which is kind of exciting. And I'm at the helm of that too. So, so
Oh,
many cool things. Pick your brand of
yeah.
paganism, but yeah, that's
Got
kind of
a
what we've
lot
got.
brewing there.
Indeed, yes, in my cauldron.
All right, cool. So, what is the best place? You have a website. Let's talk about your website. And do you have a newsletter, a blog, and social media for everybody to find out about, learn more about you, what you do, your magical offerings, and your music? So, let's why don't you tell us all about all for the listeners where
Yes,
they can
thank
find
you. Yeah, absolutely. Everything that I have is available on cawnawynmore.com, and I'll spell that for people. It's CAWNAWYNMOR.com, cawnawynmore.com. And there you can find all my classes. I'll be releasing my virtual classes there as well as tickets to my live classes. My music's there, my blog is there, my all my social media links, so you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all those things. Podcast interviews I put up there and their episodes, including all the forecasts I do with Bonfire. And you can book readings there if you want to, if you're so
find. Okay.
inclined. So I'd love to connect with anybody who wants to message me. And yeah, that's kind of the place to find everything you'll be able to find there.
So, and social media, you're on Instagram under Cawnawyn Moore.
Indeed, yes, yeah.
Okay. And Facebook, same thing.
Yep. Facebook, you can find me under. I think everything is under Cawnawyn Moore. I made up the name, so nobody has it.
Yeah. And also YouTube for people who are interested in going on YouTube. It's under
Exactly.
Moore.
That's
Okay.
where you can find all my Sabbat astrology and my full moon. I call them my walkthroughs, but they're like
Okay.
forecasts with a little bit of education thrown in.
Well, so much going on. I'm gonna let you do the special Litha blessing song that you had planned, and then we'll circle back.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, this is actually a song that it's the only song of the Sabbath songs I've written that has been not played for the public yet, has been unreleased. So the debut is here.
Ooh.
But I thought this would be kind of fun. It's funny. It was the Song of Sunlight is what this is called for the solstice. Magic fills the air. Bless the ones they call the fair. Sun and moon, day and night. Watch it turn the wheel of life. Let love shine through the land from faraway seas to desert sands. Ring the bells and feast till dawn. Celebrate with dance and song. Help us to live with love. Guide us to grow and trust. Share the blessing, shine your light, and dance, dance, dance through the night. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Bravo.
Oh, thank you.
Bravo.
You're too kind.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Happy
Yeah.
summer solstice, everybody.
Yes, indeed. Happy summer solstice and Litha. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And we really enjoyed your amazing voice and hearing about your magical background and how you weave your spirituality into your songwriting and singing. It's really cool. It's really refreshing for me to speak with somebody who's interested in performing, but also from a place of deep intention, like you were talking about, and really coming from the spirit. And it's a ripple effect, and I honor you for that so much. So
Thank you so much. That
yeah,
deeply honors me to hear that. So I really appreciate it.
yeah,
And thank you again so much for inviting me on here. I'm honored to be
yeah.
amongst you and so many other wonderful people you've had on your show. And congrats again for the 50th episode. On to many, many more. So more to
Oh,
be.
awesome. Thank you so much for that. And thanks to all our listeners for tuning in today.
Indeed.
Alrighty then, that's about it. And have a great rest of your day, Cawnawyn. And thanks again, and blessed be.
Blessed be. Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.